Standards Practice Week 16. Number 1. How many terms are in the expression seen below? This is an expression because there's no equal sign, and an expression is made up of numbers and variables with different operations, so multiplication, division, subtraction, addition. Terms are separated by an addition or subtraction sign. So each one of these parts make up a term. So this is a term, this is a term, this is a term, this is a term, this is a term. So that'll tell you the answer to this one. Number 2, what is the degree of the monomial seen below? So degree is when we're actually going to look at exponents of the variables. So for this one, I have a to the 5th, b is technically raised to a 1, and c is raised to a 1. So you would just have, because there's multiple variables, you would add all these exponents, and that would be your degree of your monomial. If there was only one variable, you would just use that degree. Number 3, on the first day of an experiment, there are 8 bacteria in a petri dish. On the second day, there are 16. On the third, there are 32. And this pattern continued, so on and so forth. Which formula below would give me the correct value for how many bacteria were in the dish on day 5? Well, I could actually figure this out. So this is 8 times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32. In order to figure out the next two, I could just figure out what each value is times 2. So 32 times 2. If I continued this on, that would be 64. And if I continued again, I would get 128. Okay, so these two are explicit formulas. That means I don't need to rely on anything but this formula, and I just plug in what value I need. And then these two are implicit, which means that it relies on the term before it. Okay, so there's probably one of these and one of these. So let's look at the first set. 8 plus 2, parentheses, n minus 1. Well, the n is 5 because I want on the 5th day. So let's see if that works. 8 plus 2 and then 5 minus 1. So 8 plus 2 times 4. So 8 plus 8. Does that give me 128? Well, no, so it can't. That doesn't work. So let's try the second one. Let's see. It has 8 times 2 and then n minus 1, so 5 minus 1. So that's 8 times 2 to the 4th. So you would have to figure out what 2 times 2, which is 4, times 2, which is 8, times 2 is 16. So you would just need to figure out what 16 times 8 is to see if it equals 128. If that works, then this is an answer. Alright, so for the second set. So it says for both of these that the first term is 8, and that is correct. So I need to know, do I just take 2 and add it to the previous term, or do I take 2 and multiply it by the previous term? Well, I definitely don't add 2 to 8 to get 16. And I don't add 2 to 16 to get 32, so that one's out, which means that it has to be this one because you times it by 2 each time. Use the situation below to answer the following questions. Suppose a new house is worth $250,000 and it depreciates at a rate of 16% each year or per year. So depreciate means it loses value. So it might start off worth a good bit, and then every year it goes down and down and down. So does the situation represent growth or decay? Well, if you lose value, is that considered growth or is it decay? Which estimate below best estimates the house worth after 5 years of the given rate? Well, it started out at 250,000. Oops, so 1,000. Well, since I'm losing 16%, it's going to be 1 minus whatever 16% is as a decimal, so 0.16, raised to the time, which is 5 years. So you would figure out what this value is. So 250,000 times 0.84 raised to the 5th. Remember, you do exponents before you do multiplication. So do that to figure out what the value is of the house.